What's going on there, YouTube? I hope everybody's having an awesome Friday. And today I want to talk about the. Listen, I know I've talked about the shooting in Atlanta, right? Like 2 times. But I'm going to play a video today. It's just a short video, and I want to play it because it's going to show what took place. I know a lot of people seen what took place, but I feel like some people are almost looking at the wrong footage, right? So as I said before, I probably would have made a decision to say, you know what? Whatever, I'll give the guy a ride home. Maybe I'll give him a break. Maybe. I don't know for sure. I wasn't in that situation. I'm not in that situation. So I don't know what I would have done. But unfortunately, it was justified. I mean, it was a justified shooting. But I want to play this video for you, and I want you guys to see the video because it's an interesting video. So let me grab my remote here so I can turn this down just a little bit. Excuse me. All right, so let's jump into this, and shabam, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and play this from the start here, and I'm going to let you guys watch this from the start of this video. So we'll play it from right here, and let's see. So he's walking up to the driver's side window in the drive-thru right now where Rayshard Brooks is sleeping in his car. He still isn't awake, and now he is awake. Now this isn't the cop that fired the shots. So already what he's done was illegal. The car, he was in a drive-through, and it looked like the car was on. He was sleeping, and he's been drinking. That's a DUI or an OWI or whatever it is in their county or in their state. Like, that's illegal. You can't do that. That's against the law. So that's the officer, Garrett Rolfe or Ralph or whatever his name is. That's the one that fired the shots. So he's going to give him the sobriety test. It's a long sobriety test, but maybe he needed to give him a long sobriety test. Maybe he needed to do that to determine. So 0.108. So at this point he resists arrest. Okay. Now you can see that the other officer, the taser's up. So he tries to tase him there. There he's taking the taser. throws him. I mean, he beats, he manhandles these two cops. But at this point, he's got the taser. Now you'll watch. He's gonna fire that taser. Okay, so at this point, right, a lot of people were saying that the taser was fired twice before he fired it. I don't see it being fired twice. And you can watch, you'll see the taser will shoot something out at the police officer. Ready? It shot out something at the police officer. Now, I understand it missed. Okay, I understand the situation. I understand that it missed, and I understand that, well, he wasn't in great danger. Well, just 2 weeks prior now, the Georgia DA, there was a police officer that used a taser on a protester, or probably someone looting or rioting or whatever, and the DA said, oh, he used a lethal weapon on a protester. Okay, but now Rayshard Brooks was trying to use a taser on a police officer. Well, now it's not a lethal weapon, so it's not a lethal weapon anymore. You know, I mean, the bias and the hypocrisy here is ridiculous. If a police officer uses a weapon, it's unbelievable. It's so lethal. But if a criminal or someone else that is not a police officer uses that weapon, then it is not a lethal weapon. I mean, this is beyond insanity. Okay? Now, at this point, he's committed felony assault on those police officers. He's running away. Should he have been shot? Probably not. He probably shouldn't have been shot. But the point here is that they're charging that police officer with felony murder. Felony murder. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? It is, you know, and now you got cops in Atlanta walk off the job. Because you know what? The police aren't getting the respect that they deserve. And I don't care. People can disagree with me. But at this point, I'm just really upset. Very upset. Because I stand with the police. Good cops, right? These cops that are ignorant and even, I'm sure there's racist cops. I'm sure there is. And those are the bad ones. But 98.5 or 99% of cops are good people. Right. And this is just absolutely insane. I literally, I'm blown back by the fact that they charged him with felony murder and 11 other counts. This is absolutely crazy, man. This is crazy. You got Paw Patrol taken off. Now you got Aunt Jemima's and Uncle Ben's. All of these individuals who are black, who've made something of themselves in life, and let's just erase that. You know, it's almost like we're just going to erase all of history. Why don't we just erase everything and start fresh from tomorrow? Let's just do that, right? Because that's what everybody wants. Let's start fresh without cops, without police, right? So that when you call 911, who do you get? You're not going to get a cop. It's so unbelievably stupid. It's so unbelievably stupid, and it's so hard to maintain and not get angry and not get upset when I see so many good police officers being disrespected. You know what? Walk off the job, and I think that's the right thing to do. You walk off that job and see how fast those people come crying back, because there's not going to be anybody there to save them. There's not going to be anybody there to save them, and it's upsetting. It's upsetting. It's so upsetting because I live in this country. Luckily, I live in a city where the police, in my opinion, are not bad. I feel like they're good cops, and not that I'm the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of Wisconsin. I'm not the biggest fan of the city I live in, but it's not a liberal city, and that's fantastic, And but this is crazy, right? This is crazy that you have a individual. Now, he is considered a criminal. At this point, he is a criminal. He's committed felony assault, and this wasn't his first stop for drinking and driving. From what I understand, right? This wasn't his first stop for drinking and driving. And I think he's got some other stuff. But beyond that, right? You just get rid of his record, right? Get rid of the fact that he has a record. Get rid of that, right? Let's not even look at that. Let's not even look at the fact that he has a record. Let's just look at what took place that night, right? The cops were polite. The cops were nice to him, and he was nice to the cops. And look, did the cop have to arrest him? He didn't have to arrest him. And I've seen people say, well, maybe he shouldn't have arrested him because of what's going on in the world. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy. So if you're a white cop and you pull over a black male or a black female, and there's cocaine in the car, there's crack or something that would warrant a arrest, are you not supposed to arrest them because they're black? Like, is that what this has come to, that if you're black, you just don't get arrested, and if you're black and you harm a police officer and he uses lethal force as he has the right to, you're automatically a racist, and now you're going to get charged with murder? Like, is that what this has come to? Because that's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Excuse my language, but that is fucking ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That makes no sense. Listen, he is I'm sorry to say it, but at this point, he's committed felony assault on 2 officers. Stole the taser. A lot of people said he used the taser twice. I didn't see him use the taser on the cops other than trying to shoot it at that Garrett, the officer that no longer works there, Garrett Rolfe or Roth or whatever his last name is. And then he used it on him, and the cop pulled his service weapon out and fired it twice, from what I understand. Well, 3 times. I guess one was hitting a bystander's vehicle, one in the buttocks and one in the back, from what I've read. And everybody is saying, well, he murdered that man. He murdered that man. That man was murdered. But the man wasn't murdered. Listen, I just my mind is I'm so far. I feel like, and I've said this a million times, like I'm living in a twilight, like I'm living in a parallel universe where we are literally living amongst ignorance. And look, if somebody doesn't like that, too bad, but that's the truth. What are you going to do when the cops aren't there to save you? What are you going to do when you call 911 and they send a social worker and what you need is a police officer? Because that's where this is headed. That's where this is headed. This is headed to a place where the police officers aren't going to be there to save you. Do you know who's first on a car accident scene? A police officer. So do you know, listen, when you get into a car accident, normally police are the first one to show up. So they're the first ones to administer any kind of help that you're going to need. I don't think people realize the amount of not only pressure, but the amount of respect that police officers deserve. And I'm not saying all of them are good, so don't twist my words. But I am saying that I don't think people realize how much we should be respecting these individuals. They're protecting our communities. They're protecting our states, our cities. I mean, they're the first responders for the most part. They show up to the situations where they don't know if they're going to be going home. I mean, this is insane. But I stand with them. I stand with every single police officer that's walked off that job and is not answering calls. You know what? You're making the right choice. Let them wallow in what they want. Let them do it just for like a week or 2 weeks. No officers, no calls being answered, and see what happens. Then you want to know what will happen? Then they'll come back and they'll say, I can't believe these officers left us to die, because that's always how it works, right? It's never anyone else's fault. It's always the officer's fault. Derek Chauvin, guilty. He murdered George Floyd. He is guilty. This officer, unfortunately, I don't think he's guilty. Maybe he should have been fired. He definitely shouldn't be charged with felony murder. I think that's an absolutely ridiculous charge to put on him. And that's my thoughts. That's my opinions. And I don't care. If you don't like my opinions, you don't like my opinions. But that's my opinion. Looking at the video, and I watched the whole video. So I watched the hour and 25-minute video from only Garrett Rolfe's body cam. I watched that video, and then I watched this, and I watched a few other videos. And some of these videos I'm watching, I'm noticing they're doctored. They're doctored up. They got some doctor to them. You know what I mean? You know, they're cutting and they're splicing and they're putting this here and they're putting that there to make it look a certain way. And you can't do that. And then after all this happened, you got people in the parking lot getting out of their cars. He didn't even do anything wrong. He did do something wrong. So the first thing he did wrong was drinking and driving. That's one. Then when the officers tried to arrest him, which they had every right to arrest him, they had every single right to arrest him, he committed felony assault, wrestled the officers, punched them, threw one on their head, felony assault. Then he stole the cop's taser. Then he tried to fire the taser. He is 100% in the wrong. He committed a crime. The officer was doing his job. And when you're in that situation, everybody says, well, you shouldn't have shot him. You should have done this. But you're not in that situation. You're not in the situation. You've never been in that situation. So you have no idea what that situation consists of. You have no idea what you would do in that situation. Now listen, when he turned around and pointed the taser, so a taser kind of sounds like a gun a little bit, like you could hear it. I mean, it's not exactly, but it kind of has a similar sound. When you turn around and you're looking straight onto somebody, even though that taser's yellow, all you see is a weapon that guy's turned around and pointed at you. And, you know, unfortunately in life, you know, let's just take the police officer out of it, right? And you have this individual and this individual. And this individual pulls out a weapon and points it at you, and you have a firearm. You pull your firearm out and you shoot him. Now you have to make a decision. Before that takes place, you have to make a decision. Do I wait for him to shoot me? I don't know what it is. Maybe he pulls it out so fast. You literally have a split second. Literally, you have less than a second to make that decision. Or 1 to 2. You have literally 1 second. Let's just say you have 1 second to make the decision on whether or not you should pull your gun out and shoot that individual. And this is just two people, taking the cops out of it. What are you going to do? Are you going to go, oh, you know what? No, I'll wait until whatever weapon he pulls out, he shoots me with or stabs me with, before I pull my gun out and shoot him. Now, in my life, in my brain, my life is more important. My family is more important. So, unfortunately, I'm going home at the end of that night. I'm going home at the end of the day. And I know that sucks to say it. But unfortunately, you know, I'm not going to wait for somebody to shoot me with a weapon or stab me before I make sure that I am protected. And in this case, I'm sorry, he was doing his job. Should he have fired the gun? Maybe not. You know, maybe he should have just let the guy run out. I'm sure the guy, I mean, look, he'd been drinking, and after he wasn't running very fast. So I'm sure he would have ran out of gas at some point. You probably wouldn't have been able to get him. And a lot of people say, well, he could have shot him in the leg. Well, right, but you have main arteries in your leg. So if he'd have hit him in a certain spot in his leg, he would have bled out and died. I mean, he did pass away, but what I'm saying is there's certain spots. I mean, you can shoot somebody in the abdomen and they can still live. You can shoot someone in the chest, actually, and they can still live. I mean, depending on where you shoot them. You know, it's unfortunate that someone lost their life, but my whole point to this is why it didn't have to escalate to that. And the thing is the police officers in this case did not escalate the situation. They were doing what they are supposed to do as police officers, and that was do their job. They were going to arrest him. They had every right to arrest him. They had every single right to arrest the individual. They didn't have to let him go. They didn't have to say they'd give him a ride home. They didn't have to let him walk. And I know a lot of people and a lot of comments on Facebook and social media and Twitter and all these people say, well, if it was in my city, they would, but it wasn't your city. And it wasn't a cop that you know. And it wasn't that. This is in a different city than you. And even if that particular cop had let someone else go for drinking and driving, that's his decision. He's making that decision. And maybe, you know, and he chose on this one, he's not going to make that decision. He's going to take the guy to jail. Now, there's a difference between sitting in a parking stall, sleeping with your car off, than sitting in a Wendy's drive-thru with your car on and sleeping. That's a difference there. And I'm sorry, but I don't think this case is going to go very far. I don't know how they're going to be able to actually convict him of felony murder or the death penalty. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And if that's the country that I'm going to have to raise a child in, is a country where police are disrespected, you got rioters and protesters who are throwing bottles of piss and shit and fucking pipe bombs and shit at cops, and looting and rioting and stealing and burning and taking statues down and trying to rewrite history. And I get it. You know what? History sucks, man. If you're black, sure, there was slaves in this country, and that sucks, and that was fucked up, and that's wrong. But why erase it? Do you know what? You should embrace the fact that how far things have come along in this country. You shouldn't erase that. People need to know that's what happened so we don't repeat history. I mean, I literally can't. It blows my mind. It's absolutely ridiculous and crazy and stupid and unbelievable. And there's not even enough words in my vocabulary to explain how upset I am at the people in this country. It's sickening. It's sickening. It's so sickening. And you know what? I think cops should take off. Maybe not my city, because we're not having problems, because we take care of people and we know. Right? The cops here are pretty decent cops. I think in every city, in every county, in every state, you do get some bad ones. You do. And I think we can have better reform, and I think we can have better training, and I've said that before. But you can't just go charge a cop because the individual was trying to use a lethal weapon, which a taser is a lethal weapon. You can kill somebody with a taser. You can absolutely kill somebody with a taser. And trying to use a lethal weapon against a police officer. And that cop is just supposed to take it and say, well, my life doesn't matter because I'm a cop. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm so upset. I'm just so upset. I'm so sick to my stomach, the state of this country and how everything. Look, I'm white, right? I don't have privilege. I've never had fucking privilege. I think it's ridiculous. I don't believe in it. And I believe in hard work. I believe in earning your keep. And I believe in judging someone on the content of their character, right? Judging people based on the content of their character. That's what you have to do in this world. And go to work, quit bitching, quit complaining, quit whining, go to work, make money, get what you want. Simple. Help your neighbors, love your community. Give back. Show a little more love. Stop blaming everybody else. It's not everybody else's fault that you are where you are. And I'm not going to kneel for nobody. I'm not going to apologize for nothing because I have done this much wrong. Zero. I've done zero wrong. I've lived my life. I've helped. I've worked. I've busted my ass. And I'm happy. I'm happy. And I follow the law. I just obey the law. It's simple. When I leave my house in the day, I put my seatbelt on. I do go over the speed limit. I probably go 5 or 10 over the speed limit all the time. But for the most part, speeding is such a minute thing. But I obey the law. I'm not out robbing banks. I'm not out shooting people. I'm not out looting and stealing and I'm not out doing any of that. Listen, I'm going to leave it with this, and I've said this before, and I'll say it a million times over. People, if you judge all cops in this country based on the actions of some cops, that can be construed in the same thing as basing one whole race by deeming one whole race shitty by the actions of some. So the next time you're going to judge a cop, just remember that. Don't just judge someone. You never judge someone by what they're wearing, by how they look, by the color of their skin. You always judge someone on the content of their character. Just remember that, people. Always judge people on the content of their character and not anything else. I'm Nate. This is Nate and Friends, and I'll see you guys on the next one.